have your Bibles today, if you would, John chapter 21. And when you get there, please stand for the reading of God's Word. I would appreciate that. John 21. John chapter 21, verse number 15 is where we'll start the reading tonight. All right, the Bible says in John 21, verse 15, "So when they had dined, Jesus saith to Simon Peter, Simon, son of Jonas, lovest thou me more than these? He saith unto him, Yea, Lord, thou knowest that I love thee. He saith unto him, Feed my lambs. He saith unto him again the second time, Simon, son of Jonas, lovest thou me? He saith unto him, Yea, Lord, thou knowest that I love thee. He saith unto him, Feed my sheep. He saith unto him the third time, Simon, son of Jonas, lovest thou me? Peter was grieved because he said unto him the third time, Lovest thou me? He said unto him, Lord, thou knowest all things. Thou knowest that I love thee. Jesus saith unto him, Feed my sheep. Let's bow our heads and close our eyes. Lord, thanks for the night. God, I thank you for the opportunity to open your word and preach it to your people, Lord. I thank you for this place. God, I don't know on a human level where any of us would be without the Woodlawn Baptist Church, Lord. I thank you for the people that represent it, the people that put forth so much effort on a weekly basis, a daily basis, Lord, to pray and to work and to labor, Lord, so that people will hear the gospel, Lord. And I thank you so much for that, God. I pray that you would just strengthen us tonight through your word, God. That's what we need. That's what I need. God, these people certainly don't need to hear me, but they need to hear from you. And God, I just pray you would take over the service in the next few moments. God, I pray that you would show up in a powerful way. I pray that, God, you would give me the right words and thoughts and spirit to get this across how you want me to. And Lord, I pray that the folks would hear your voice through the preaching tonight, Lord. God, that you would speak directly to them. And God, I pray that it would just hit us where we are, that it would be relevant to what we've been dealing with, what we've been going through. God, I certainly can't do that. I don't know every situation, and there's no way I could speak to every situation with the time allotted, Lord. But God, you know every situation. You know every heart. You know every experience, Lord, that people have had. And God, you can help each one of us, Lord, in different ways, but God, you can help us. We pray that you would do that tonight through your word, that you would strengthen us. Help us to love you more than we ever have, Lord. Be ready to serve you. And God, again, would you just please hit us where we are, but God, please don't leave us there. Take us to where you want us to be. Lord, help us to grow and be better servants of you when we leave here tonight. We love you, Lord. Bless this night in Jesus' name. Amen. You be seated. Thank you for standing. Peter is one of the most interesting characters in all the New Testament. And of Jesus' disciples, he's probably the one that stands out the most. Peter was always the guy that would kind of just speak his mind, even if his mind hadn't caught up with his mouth yet. Okay, he would just open it up and say whatever he thought and blurt it out. And most of the time, you're thinking, Peter, what are you doing? I mean, there's many times, many occasions of that. There's a few times where Peter just nails it right on the head, and he says the exact right thing. He's saying, "All right, Peter, good job," but there's probably more of the first category than the second. Right. Most of the time when he speaks up, it's not exactly what you should have said. But I don't know about you. I'm thankful for Peter. Because a lot of the dumb thoughts that go through my mind, Peter just blurted them out. So I never have to wonder about him anymore because Peter just threw it out there. And I appreciate that. But if you look at the life of Peter, he had some great ups and some great downs in his life. But at the end of the day, at the end of his life, you can say Peter was greatly used of God in his life. Peter in his life, I mean, you think about early on in his life when Jesus called him and he said, "Follow me and I will make you fishers of men." And his brother Andrew brings him to Jesus and all the different things about him. But you think about him, and I would say the whole first scene of Peter's life, it's really lived in overconfidence for the most part. Amen. Peter thought he knew more than he did. He thought he was stronger than he actually was. He thought, that when the pressure got tough and when things got intense, that Brother Chad, he could kind of flip the switch and just, maybe if he wasn't the greatest Christian at that moment, that he could always rise to the occasion. I feel like a lot of us think the same thing about ourselves. That, maybe just when things are normal, when things are average, I'm just kind of cruising along. But, I mean, when the pressure gets tough and, God forbid, but if persecution does become even worse than a real thing in this country, I'll step it up. I'll do better. But the sad thing is, if we're not really serving God now, we probably won't when things get worse and when things get tougher. Amen. Peter lived his life in overconfidence. I mean, Peter is the one when Jesus talked about going to the cross, that he pulled the Son of God to the side and said, Lord, we can't do that. Mm-hmm. that just ain't going to happen, Lord. Let me counsel you. Let me advise you that that's not the best plan for our kingdom takeover. All right? And Jesus said, get thee behind me, Satan. Ouch. I mean, that hurts when you're a follower of Christ to be called Satan. Okay? That's rough. But Peter lived his life in overconfidence. I mean, the Lord himself predicted it. He said, Peter, you're going to deny me 3 times. Yep. You're going to deny that you even know me. And what did he say to the Lord? I'll never do that.
Right.
He looks at all the other disciples, the 11 other disciples. Those guys, I'm just telling you now, Lord, I'm not sure about them, but me, you can count them. Though they all be offended because of you, I won't ever be offended because of you. The Lord says, Peter, this night, you're going to deny that you even know me 3 times.
That's right. That's right.
He still doesn't stop. He said, Lord, I'm ready to go with you to prison and to death. They can kill me, and I'm going to keep standing for you. And if you know pretty much anything about the Bible, you know what happened with Peter. That, sadly, because of his overconfidence, he thought he was the greatest. He thought he was Jesus' right-hand man, and that he would be with him side by side, dying for the cause of Christ. Peter ended in denial and failure and collapse and weakness. But thank God, aren't you glad that's not the end of the story with Peter?
Yes.
Listen, God restored him. He got him back up. He used him in a great way at the day of Pentecost. Peter's preaching to 3,000 people that got saved, baptized, joined the church there in Jerusalem. An amazing day in church history when it all started. Listen, God used Peter in a great way. In fact, after Jesus rose from the dead, you can imagine in Peter's mind, he discounted himself from the disciples now. I mean, he backstabbed the Lord. He denied the Lord. He gave him up. He sold him out. He wasn't exactly Judas, but he wasn't exactly far from it either.
Right. That's right.
And when, I believe they're telling the women to go tell his disciples, I believe the angel's telling the women to go tell his disciples, he said, go tell the disciples, aren't you glad the Lord puts this in there? And Peter. And Peter. You know what God's saying? I'm not done with you, Peter.
Right.
Yes, you were weak. Yes, you fell. Yes, you messed up. And you messed up royally, but I'm not done with you.
Amen.
Listen, folks, you may have fallen down. You may have messed up your life. You may have made some mistakes, but God's not done with you. You say, how can you prove that, Brother Tom? You're still breathing. You're still alive. You're still here. He wants to do something with you. He says, go tell my disciples and Peter.
Yes.
Peter comes back.
Praise God.
But we have this episode in John 21. We don't usually talk much about this. This is after that event. Peter's back with the 12. He's one of the boys again. He's in Jesus' crew. John 21, at the beginning of the chapter, he goes fishing, and 6 other disciples go with him.
Right.
Wow. You say, okay, great. He's going fishing. Like, what's the big deal? Well, folks, when verse number 3 of John 21, Peter says, I go fishing, he's not just saying, hey guys, I'm going to take an afternoon off. I'm going to go chill. I'm going to see what I can catch out there. It's been a while. When he says I'm going fishing, he's saying I'm going back to fishing. Right. As a career, as a job, as a vocation. Enough serving the Lord, enough following him, enough trying to get people saved and disciple them. Enough of that. I'm going back to fishing. That was his vocation before Jesus came along, right? Right. He said, I'm going back to that. Verse number 3, he says, all the other disciples say, we're going with you. By the way, we should have some people standing up for right and speaking forth the truth. Seems like all the loudmouths in the youth group do it for wrong, not for right.
Sad.
Peter says, I'm going fishing. 6 other guys. I mean, this is a revolt of all the disciples. I mean, it's pretty tough to save the world with what, 4 guys left, 5 guys left? All right, that's kind of difficult. He says, I'm going back to fishing. And they say, we're going with you too. And it says, they went forth and entered into a ship immediately, and that night they caught nothing.
Right.
Zero. Listen, without the Lord's influence in your life, you can't be successful.
That's right.
Listen, the stuff you used to do easily back in the day, listen, you can't do it without the Lord's help now.
Right. No way.
You need him.
Yes.
And we go through the story here. But after Jesus does a miracle and sends them a whole boatload of fish to catch,
Praise God.
we have the whole passage about come and dine. Jesus, can you imagine Jesus cooking a fish meal for them? How about that? But that was good, Brother Robert. That was some good stuff. Probably some seafood soup was somewhere in there. I mean, find that in the Greek somewhere, all right? Good stuff. But in verse number 15, he focuses on Peter. Verse number 15, he says, when they had dined, Jesus saith to Simon Peter, Simon, son of Jonas, lovest thou me more than these?
Right.
He said to him, Yea, Lord, thou knowest that I love thee. He saith unto him, feed my lambs. And this instance is repeated 3 times.
Yes.
Jesus didn't just put this in here 3 times because he needed to fill up the book of John.
Right.
Verse number 16, he saith unto him the second time, Simon, son of Jonas, lovest thou me? He saith unto him, Yea, Lord, thou knowest that I love thee. He saith unto him, feed my sheep. He saith unto him the third time, Simon, son of Jonas, lovest thou me? Peter was grieved because he had said unto him the third time, lovest thou me? Some of you kids know when your parents keep asking you the same question, you probably got it wrong the first 2 times. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
Where were you? I was with my friend. Where were you? I was with my friend. Where were you? You weren't with your friend, all right? Peter's over there shaking, Lord, I'm trying here. Help me out. He's saying, Lord, thou knowest all things. Thou knowest that I love thee. Jesus said unto him, feed my sheep.
Amen.
He denied the Lord 3 times.
Correct.
Now the Lord's reinstituting him 3 times.
Amen.
Bringing him back, reconciling him, bringing him back into the fold.
Amen.
Giving him another chance. But you know what I think in this passage here, in this section here, at the end of the book of John, that I think is so important? I think he's saying, Peter, before you were building your life and your ministry on your own power, your own talent, your own ability, your own personality, you thought you could talk your way out of anything, Peter. How'd that work out for you?
Not good.
He was building his life on something that was shaky and that would fall apart on him. I think in this passage, before Jesus ascends back to heaven, he's saying, Peter, listen to me. You can't build it on that again. You do that again, you're going to fail again. You do that again, you're going to mess up again.
Amen.
I think in this passage, he's saying, Peter, build it on the right foundation.
Right.
Listen, I don't know about you in here tonight, but I know in my life I've messed up sometimes. I've done some dumb things. I've gotten off track sometimes. Listen, folks, if we keep doing it the same way, we're going to mess up the same way. I think tonight you need to build your life to last. You need to say, Lord, how can I get my Christian life on track and stay on track? Listen, if you're a Christian, you shouldn't just want to say, yeah, I'm going to live for God until it gets tough, until it gets difficult, until some opposition comes my way, then I'm going to fall out. I don't think most Christians plan it that way, but Brother Chad, it seems like it sometimes. And I'm not trying to slap you around. It hurts my heart, but that's the absolute truth.
Right.
Listen, we have youth conference every year. People get excited. 2 weeks later, they live like there was no youth conference.
Oh, my.
Listen, that's a problem. What's the deal? Listen, Jesus deserves better than that.
Yes. That's right.
You say, Brother Tom, how can I get my life? Listen, I don't know about you. I don't want my Christian life just to be a few highlights throughout the year and then the whole rest of the year I'm just cruising down low. And then, wow, we have roundup and then youth conference and then,
Oh, my.
listen, we need to live a victorious Christian life.
Yes.
Listen, we'll have slip-ups, we'll have mistakes every now and again, but that shouldn't be the majority of our lives.
Right.
Victory should be the majority of our lives.
Amen.
Listen, we should be riding up here with the occasional dip.
Right.
That's the way it should be.
Yes.
Is your life like that? Is my life like that? I think in this passage he's saying, Peter, you need to be built to last. Oh, when the pressure gets turned up, when the eyes get turned your way, when the criticism comes your way, Peter, I want your life to be built to last. How about you?
Amen.
Can we just be real tonight and say, listen, folks, sometimes things are going to get difficult.
Oh, yeah.
Sometimes people are going to say something against you.
Oh, yeah.
Sometimes they're going to criticize what you're doing for the Lord.
Yes.
Sometimes your friends are going to turn away.
Yep.
Sometimes the circumstances are not going to be flowing with you. They'll be against you. What are you going to do?
That's right.
What are you going to do? Can I suggest we need to have our life built to last?
Amen.
Have a Christian life that's built to last?
Yes.
Listen, I think before Jesus got out of here back to heaven, he's saying, Peter, you got to build your life on something different here.
Come on.
Listen, it can't just be that you're overconfident and you think your abilities are so great and your talents are so great and your skills are so great and you can figure your way through it. No, you can't. He's saying, Peter, you need me. You need to base your life on me. Jesus said, without me, you can't do nothing.
Amen. That's right.
Listen, don't you want a bus route that's built to last?
Yeah.
Don't you want a class that's built to last? Don't you want a Christian life, a Christian family that's built to last?
Right. That's right.
I do.
Amen.
I do. How about you?
That's right.
How do we build our Christian life to last? I think very clearly the first thing is this. It needs to be built on fervent love. Fervent love for the Lord. I mean, 3 times he shows up to Peter saying, Peter, do you love me? Do you love me? Do you love me? Hey, Woodlawn, do you love him? Do you love him? Do you love him?
Amen. Amen.
Oh, no, I'm just here for the friends. I'm just here to hang out. I'm just here to have a good time. Are we having promotions? Are we having the picnic soon? Are we having a campaign? What's the prizes? Listen, forget all the prizes. Forget all the freebies. Forget all the giveaways. Do you love Jesus?
That's right.
Listen, your Christian life has to be built on not that everything's smooth sailing, on not that everything's working out great, not that every sermon I preach, everybody's flocking to the altar. It has to go deeper than that. It has to go something deeper, that we have a rock solid basis and foundation for it. And that needs to be our love for God.
Amen. Amen.
Fervent love. Listen, I'm talking about a fiery, blazing, passionate love for the Lord. Listen, that's where the Christian life starts. Listen, we shouldn't just do what we're doing for the Lord because they expect us to, or we've just been doing it for who knows how long.
Right.
We lost count. Listen, it needs to be something that burns from our heart out to God, saying, God, I got to do something for you.
Yes. Amen.
It needs to be a fervent love that we build our Christian lives on. He's saying, Peter, listen. You're not as smart as you think you are. You're not as strong as you think you are. You're not as courageous as you think you are. Listen, Peter, you got to build your life on a love for me. Woodlawn, are you building your life? Are you building your service? Are you building your class? Are you building your route on a love for God?
Yes. Amen.
That's what lasts. That's what counts. That's what goes over the long haul.
That's right. Amen.
Listen, I know he doesn't want me saying this, but you know how that man's been serving God for who knows how long? He loves the Lord.
That's right.
It's not just he likes being a part of the church and he hangs out and he has a good time. Listen, he loves the Lord. How about you?
Amen.
How about me? A fervent love for the Lord. Listen, in Peter's life, he's saying, Peter, you're missing something here. It's absent in your life, or at least it's astray in your life. Listen, the words here in Greek, when Jesus says, lovest thou me, that's that word agape. It means a deep commitment. It means a self-sacrificing love, that you give up yourself. It's a deep commitment one willingly makes to care for another above themselves. When Jesus says, Peter, do you love me? That's the word he's using.
That's right.
But when Peter answers back and says, yeah, Lord, you know I love you. It's a totally different word in Greek. It's the word phileo, which means I'm fond of you. I like you, Lord. You're pretty cool, Lord.
Right.
I like what you do for me, Lord.
Right.
Yeah.
Lord says, forget that. How about when I'm being crucified and everybody turns their back on me and the pressure's against you and the criticism's coming your way? Listen, that little phileo, Lord, I love you, you're my boy, I'm all about you, Lord, I'm cool with you. That doesn't last too long.
That's right.
That's right. Right. No way.
When they start criticizing you, it doesn't last too long. When your friends turn away, it doesn't last too long.
That's right.
You know what lasts long? That agape love, that deep commitment.
Yes. Come on, brother.
That self-sacrifice to say, Lord, I'm nothing without you. God, I've got to stand for you. I've got to keep doing right. It goes deeper than that.
Yes, sir. Amen.
He says, Peter, do you love me? Agape, you have that commitment? Hey, I'm not trying to get all hooky spooky tonight, but listen, what would it take to get you out of church? What would it take for you to turn your back on the Lord? Listen, that shoots my mind over to the book of Job, where he went through it.
Right.
His life was ripped apart from him.
Yep.
He's saying, though he slay me, yet will I trust him.
Amen.
That's a commitment right there.
Yes, sir.
Listen. And this is not just about what we get from God. Okay? It's not just about what we get from God.
That's right.
Now, I'm just as dependent on what I get from God as you are. Because we can't make it, we can't do anything without him.
Right.
But listen, even when the blessings aren't rolling in, are you still going to love him? You still? How about the life of Job? I mean, every blessing was ripped out of his life.
Yes.
Brother Chad, in the matter of a few minutes.
Yep.
I mean, these servants keep running up. If I was him, I'd just say, stop. Give me a minute. You stay down the road a little while. I'll find out the next bit of bad news here in a second. Your children are gone. All your wealth is gone. Everything's taken away from you.
That's right. That's right.
Listen, if Job was the average Christian nowadays, he would have quit on God right there.
Oh, no doubt.
You're not going to bless me? Fine. I'm going to serve you, and this is going to happen with my finances. This is going to happen with my family, and God forbid, I'm not wishing this on anybody. I'm just saying, if it does, where are you going?
Come on, brother.
A fervent love. He's saying, Peter, do you have that commitment? Do you have that self-sacrifice? He does that 2 times with the Lord. He said, do you have that commitment for me? Peter says, yeah, I like it. No, not the same thing. Do you have that commitment for me? Yeah, I like it. And then the last time, the Lord even takes Peter's word and says, do you really like me? That's rough.
Yeah.
That's rough.
That's right.
You know why he's pointing this out to him? He's saying, Peter, your failure before was a failure to love me.
That's right.
Hey, folks, how are we loving God tonight? Can I be the first to admit I need to step it up?
Amen.
All of us do.
Yes, amen.
A fervent love. Listen, you want to be built to last? Or if you don't, what's it going to take, Brother Bob? Somebody says something snappy to you and you're out of here?
Good, right?
Pastor says it in a way that just doesn't sit well with you, and enough with that.
Oh,
You think we should do the Lord like that?
no way.
No.
Nope.
Fervent love.
Yes.
He's saying, Peter, it's not just affection. It's not just you being fond of me. I want that commitment. Hey, teenager, God's wanting a commitment from you.
Yes. Come on.
Not just when all the emotion is sweeping up and hey, everybody else is surrendering God. Why don't you be next? Come on, the turnstiles are waving. Come on, guys. No. When everybody in your public school is against you, you're going to be committed to Him?
Right. That's right.
And some of you, listen, you're the only one that comes to church from your whole family.
Right.
You going to stay committed?
Come on. Come on. Amen. That's right. Got to.
Listen, God will bless you for putting Him first. But sometimes, Brother Chad, that doesn't seem too apparent at moments.
Right.
A lot of the Psalms is the psalmist crying out to God, saying, God, what's going on? I don't understand this. God, help me. And by the end of the chapter, he's praising God.
Yep.
Whether God worked it out yet or not, he got his perspective right.
Amen.
Fervent love. St. Peter, it's a stray in your life. Folks, the love of God is all the motivation we should need in our lives.
That's right.
We love him. Why? Because he first loved us.
Amen.
I love this verse in 2 Corinthians. Paul said, the love of Christ constrains me.
Right.
It means to impel me, to urge me, to push me.
Yes.
Listen, when you feel like quitting,
Come on.
and again, Paul is the greatest example of this. How many times did he get beaten, and how many times did he get thrown in prison, and how many times shipwrecked, and how many times persecuted, and he's stoned to death.
Right.
I haven't had that happen to me. But he's stoned to death, and I'm not trying to be overly dramatic here, but he's on the ground, beat up, bruised, bloody, wanting to quit. He's on the ground. And the thing that comes into his heart and his mind that makes him push up and keep on going is the love of God.
Amen. That's it.
How about you?
It's good, man. Amen.
Now, listen, again, it's not, he said the love of God constraineth us. The love of Christ constraineth us, because that if one died for all, then we're all dead. He continues on with the passage, but he's saying, listen, the love of Christ constrains us. He's saying not my love for God, but his love for me.
Amen.
It pushes me on. Listen, it gets tough sometimes on the bus route. It gets tough sometimes in the class. Well, Bob, it gets weary. Some people lying to you. You're not going to do, hey, you coming? Yeah. And you're like, no, you're not. Right? Can I get a witness in one on tonight? All right? Listen, you're like, you've said that to me the last 17 times I'm visiting. I'm keeping track, okay? You're lying. Right? You know why we keep going?
Yes.
Oh.
Yes.
Because we love him.
Exactly right. That's right.
You say it doesn't make sense. I know. Sometimes. But it makes sense to love him because he first loved us.
Yes.
The love of Christ constrains us. It should be all the motivation we need. Romans 12:1, I beseech you therefore, brethren, by the mercies of God. He's saying, hold on, before I even tell you what I'm going to tell you, I just want you to stop a minute and think about the mercy of God in your life.
Right.
Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Jesus.
You say, I don't know anything about mercy. You're a recipient of it. Can somebody give me water? I'm about to lose my voice up here, please. Somebody. Darren's got it. You the man. Listen, he's saying, before I even make this request, you think about the mercy of God. Everyone in the room is a recipient of God's mercy in here tonight.
That's right.
What are you talking about? You don't even know me. It is of thy mercies that we are not consumed.
Right.
That's right.
Great is thy mercy toward me, for thou hast delivered my soul from the lowest hell.
Amen.
It's God's mercy that we're not all in hell tonight.
Right.
That's right.
Right.
You've received God's mercy. He says, listen, I beseech you therefore, brethren, by the mercy of God. And then he gets into what he's asking. To
Yes.
present your bodies a living sacrifice.
Amen.
Yes.
Holy and acceptable unto God. Listen, he's saying, after all he's done for you,
That's right.
it's the least you can do to give it to him.
That's right. That's it.
Amen. Thanks, sir. He said it's your reasonable service.
Yes. That's it.
Fervent love.
Amen.
He's saying that should be all the motivation that you need. The areas that is manifest in your life, listen, God tells us to love him with all our heart and soul and mind and strength.
Right.
Listen, all our heart, that means all our loyalty is given to God.
Yes.
It doesn't mean we love God this part of our life, and then we love our job, we love this. Listen, he should have it all.
Yes.
Yes.
That's it.
With all our heart,
Amen.
completely devoted to him. With all our soul, I believe that should have some life, some excitement to it,
Right.
some push.
Yes.
Listen, our mind, I believe that's when we deal with the Word of God. Listen, you engage your mind to learn what it says, to find out what it means, how you can
Amen.
apply it to your life. You gotta love God with all your mind and all your strength. That's when we labor for God.
Right.
Right.
That's right.
The areas that's manifest. And you're assured to make it through if you're building it on love.
Praise God.
You're assured to make it through if you're building it on love. I apologize for my voice. 1 Corinthians 13, just listen to this. Charity suffereth long. We're talking about love, true love, real love. Charity suffereth long and is kind. Charity envieth not. Charity vaunteth not itself, is not puffed up, doth not behave itself unseemly. Seeketh not her own, is not easily provoked, thinketh no evil, rejoiceth not in iniquity, but rejoiceth in the truth. Beareth all things, believeth all things, hopeth all things, endureth all things. Charity never faileth.
That's right.
That's right.
Real love lasts.
Yes.
Again, it's not always going to be easy serving God.
That's right.
But if you truly love him, you're going to stick it out.
Amen.
Could it be that we've left our first love? Or that we've gotten cold from our first love? Listen, I would venture to guess that most of us, when we first got saved, it blew us away.
Amen.
We were so thankful for it. We
Yes.
thought, wow, I don't deserve this. But if you don't watch it as time goes on, that can kind of wear off. And
Right.
you're just like, yeah, I used to be excited about my salvation. Listen, you're destroying the motivation that you should have to serve God.
Amen.
It should well up out of gratitude to because of what he's done for us.
Amen.
So true.
That's right.
Built to last. It's got to be built on fervent love. I would say secondly, now I'm trying to hurry up the pace. I would say secondly, it's got to be built on faithful labor. Faithful labor. Listen, every time that he has this conversation with Peter, do you love me? Do you love me? Do you love me?
Right.
At the end of it, Peter says, Lord, you know everything. I think at the end, Peter's like throwing up the white flag, saying, Lord, you know everything, please. Give me a break here. Can the test be over, please? Can the bell ring, please? Help me out, Lord. He's saying, can I get out of this class? All right? He's saying, you know everything, Lord. Every time, what is the Lord punctuated with? Feed my sheep.
Right.
Feed my sheep.
That's right.
Feed my
That's
sheep.
it.
Feed
Yeah.
my sheep. And some of you thinking, okay, where are his sheep? We it. All right. That's us.
Amen.
That's right.
Yes, sir.
You don't need to be looking in some pasture for some land. Listen, this is it right here.
Right.
He said, you know what he's saying? Peter, if you truly love me, get to work.
That's right.
That's right.
Let's go do something for Christ.
Yes.
Listen. People say they love the Lord all the time and they don't want to serve him. Something don't add up with that.
No.
Listen, it needs to be proven. Jesus said, if you love me, keep my commandments.
Yes.
Listen, faith without works is dead.
Right.
If we say we have faith and we have no works, he's saying, is that real faith? Can that kind of faith save you? No. And it's productive. It accomplishes and advances and moves things ahead in your life. And it should be prompted from within us, as I've already mentioned. It should push you to do things for the Lord. For this is the love of God, that we keep his commandments, and his commandments are not grievous.
That's right. Not
So if we're living for God and we're hating life every second of it, something wrong.
Yes, indeed.
Yep.
Not grievous.
Listen, if you're truly, I get it. Again, bus route can be hard, van route can be hard, visiting, I get it, I understand. But listen, I understand we all have those moments where it's grueling and we just have to push through it. But listen, for the most part, we ought to be doing it out of the joy of the Lord.
Amen. Right.
Serve the Lord with gladness.
Yes. Amen.
Faithful labor. This is the love of God. We keep his commandments. His commandments are not grievous.
Yes, that's right.
Listen, if you love somebody, you don't mind doing things for them.
That's
And
right.
if we love the Lord, we shouldn't mind doing stuff for him. Listen, are you in a ministry here?
Amen.
Are you involved somewhere?
Amen.
Thank you.
Well, I don't know if I can do what so-and-so does. Well, don't worry about so-and-so. What can you do?
Yeah,
That's right. That's
What can
it.
you do?
Amen.
That's right.
That's
Desire
right.
to your heart.
Listen, you ought to just ask the Lord. If you love the Lord in here tonight, whether you've been coming 2 weeks or 20 years, listen, you ought to just ask the Lord tonight. If you truly love him, say, Lord, is there something you want me to do?
Amen.
If there is, God, please show me.
Yes.
That's simple.
Yep.
Fervent love, built to last. You want your Christian life built to last? Or you want when pressure comes, you fall apart? I don't want that. I don't want that for my life.
Nope. No way.
Fervent love, faithful labor. Number 3, you got to follow his leading. Follow his leading. Notice, he starts off here saying, Peter, do you love me? Do you love me? Do you love me? Okay, Peter, you say you do? All right, get to work. Get to work. Get back to your calling.
Amen.
Get back to what I told you to do.
Amen.
And that's not fishing fish, that's fishing men.
Amen.
Get back to it.
Come on.
Let's go. Let's work.
Right.
Well, I don't know what just happened now, right? Don't worry about that. I think something flew by outside, right?
There was a beat.
Sounding like Randy Dignan up here.
Uh-oh.
No cartwheels coming out. Listen, you need to follow his leading.
Right.
Follow his leading. He says, all right, get to work. Now, Peter's probably thinking, all right, Lord, thousands of people saved, healing people, great miracles, bring it on. Lord says, hold on. It's not all going to be fun and games.
Right.
Verse number 18. Verily, verily, I say unto thee, when thou wast young, thou girdest thyself, walkest whither thou wouldest. But when thou shalt be old, thou shalt stretch forth thy hands, and another shall gird thee and carry thee whither thou wouldest not. He's saying, Peter, when you're young, you choose, you control what you're doing. He's saying, when you get old, it's not going to be like that.
Nope.
Somebody else is going to lead you around. And why would Jesus say that? Is he rubbing in that when he gets old, he can't take care of himself? No. Verse number 19 is the key. This spake he, signifying by what death he should glorify God. And when he had spoken this, he saith unto him, follow me.
Right.
He says, Peter, at the end of your life, he didn't go into necessarily detail, but history tells us that Peter was martyred for his faith.
That's right.
In fact, before he was put to death, executed, he had to watch his wife get executed in front of him. History tells us that as that was going on, he kept repeating to his wife, remember the Lord, remember the Lord, remember the Lord.
Yeah.
Wow. And then, as they're about to execute Peter, they're going to crucify him. Peter says, please don't kill me that way. Turn the cross upside down, because I'm not worthy to die in the same form my Lord did.
That's right.
That's how Peter died, history tells us.
Yes.
So Jesus is saying, hey, Peter, you need to follow my leading.
Amen.
It might get tough sometimes, but you just do what I say. Follow me.
Amen.
Follow me.
Yeah.
Do what I tell you to do.
Right.
He's saying you may end up in some unexpected places and have some unexpected trials in your life. You may have some unwelcome problems and persecution in your life. We'll get into this in a moment later, but it may be with some unknown people. In a moment, Peter's going to be like, well, is John going to be with me? Jesus says, don't worry about that. Your ultimate path is you just worry about pleasing God.
Right. Amen. That's right.
Well, what about them? What about him? What about her?
Right.
Don't worry about that. Are you going to follow Christ?
Right.
Amen.
You follow his leading. He says at the end of verse 19, Peter, follow me. You do what I say, Peter. I'm the one that got you into this.
Yes.
You follow me. Listen, folks, it shouldn't have been that you just signed up because pastor really needed help or Brother Shank really needed somebody to pitch in. It should, listen, those may be the outward onus that comes on you or the outward stimuli that comes on you, but ultimately it should be God tapping on your heart saying, hey, do this.
Yes. Yes.
And if he told you to do it, keep doing it until he tells you to do something else.
That's right.
Follow his leading.
Amen.
And then the last thing is this. Number 4. The focus of his loyalty. The focus of his loyalty. Again, so Peter's getting back in the fold. Jesus is getting him back where he belongs. Peter, do you love me? Do you love me? Do you love me? Lord, you know that I do. I'm trying to. By the way, aren't you glad that Jesus didn't just slam him down right there? This just hit my mind that he didn't just slam him down. That's the best you got? You kind of like me? You kind of fond of me? You kind of affectionate for me? Get out of here.
Not our Heavenly Father. No.
He says, you know what, Peter, I'll take that for now.
Amen.
But you keep serving me, and that I like you, Lord, will turn into a deep commitment.
Yes.
You just keep following Christ every day.
Yes.
You just let that love for him grow and that faith in him grow. So you say, I can't do what Pastor does. You just do what you can do.
Exactly.
I can't do what this great Christian does. That's okay. You know, there's probably a day they didn't think they could do it either.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Come on.
But they're just following the Lord step by step, day by day. And look where God's taking them.
That's right.
And he's, listen, if you want to be built to last, build it on fervent love. Build it on faithful labor. Build it on following his leading.
Yes.
Not just the pressure, not just the crowd, not just what everybody else is doing. You build it on his leading. And number 4, you focus your loyalty on him. Verse number 21. Peter's getting off track. All right? You ever trying to teach somebody and they're worried about the fly going around the room and you're like, hello, let's focus here. That's what's going on with Peter right now. Peter, do you love me? Lord, I'm trying. Okay, Peter, serve me. All right? Peter, you got to follow what I say. It may get tough on you. At the end of your life, it certainly will. Follow me. Got it, Lord.
Amen.
Lord, what's John going to do? Forget that.
That's right.
That's so like us, isn't it?
Amen.
Yep.
Verse number 21. Peter seeing him, talking about John. John the apostle. Guy he's been hanging out with the last 3.5 years. Peter seeing him saith to Jesus, Lord, and what shall this man do? Peter, or Jesus probably over there shaking his head like, Peter, come on. You know what Peter's crossing into now? Nosiness. That's what he's crossing into.
Right.
Lord, what about him? You said, I'm going to have a rough end of my life. How about John? Unbelievable. And I love Jesus' response in 22. Jesus said unto him, if I will that he tarry till I come, what is that to thee?
That's right.
He says, Peter, what does it matter?
That's it.
Peter, if I want John to live until I come back, have you noticed that John's not still around? I mean, he says, but if I want to do that, I can do that.
Yes.
And if I do that, what's that to you?
That's exactly right.
You follow me.
Amen.
You keep your mind on that.
Yes.
Well, what about him? What about her? Listen, teenagers, if all your friends turn away, how about you?
Amen.
Right. That's right.
They might do it, Tom.
Adults, if your family turns away, how about you?
That's right.
Did Jesus not die for you? Did he not give everything for you? Has he not blessed your life and helped you? Did he not save your soul?
Amen.
Well, you know, things got tough.
Yeah.
Things got tough on Christ. I'm glad he didn't quit.
Amen.
Right. That's right.
The focus of his loyalty. He's saying, Lord, what's my friend doing? Jesus is saying, Peter, your focus is distracted here.
Right.
By the way, this is a lesson we have to learn sometimes.
Good try.
Jesus is free to do what he wants with his people.
That's
Yep.
right.
Yes.
That's right.
Everyone's.
That's right.
You know why? Because he's got divine providence going on. The unseen hand is guiding us through history, guiding us through life.
Right.
God's working things according to his plan. And can I tell you this? God has a different plan for each person.
That's right.
Yes.
And you know why? Because he's got a diverse program. God's trying to reach everybody. And last time I checked, if we're all in the exact same place the rest of our life, we probably won't reach everybody.
That's right.
I'll just be real with you. When the Papes left for the DR, that was tough for me personally. I said, wow, Brother Chad's been an influence, an invest in my life. This is hard. And then, a little while later, Brother Jeff says, I'm called to DR too. One of my best friends in the world. I'm like, Lord, you're killing me. Hey. I'm telling you for real. I struggle with that for a little bit. You know what the Lord has to tell me? Hey, if I want to send him to the Dominican Republic, if I want to send them to Australia, if I want to send them to Europe, that's my business. You follow me.
Yes.
Don't worry about them.
Right. That's right.
God's got a big thing going on. God's got a big program going on. Listen, and he's trying to reach everybody. Go ye into all the world and preach the gospel to every creature.
Right.
Amen.
And if it's all us four and no more, we're not going to reach everybody.
Right.
No.
Listen, it's not about you hanging out with your buddies.
Right.
It's about us reaching sinners with the gospel.
Yep.
Yes.
And as I said, sometimes God's going to have them go here and them go here.
Exactly.
And that person go there.
Right.
Listen, and it's great the time that we get to serve together. We get to spend together. We get to talk. We get to learn from each other. But listen, the Christian life is not about me getting what I want.
No.
It's about God accomplishing his will in the world.
Amen.
Okay. Is that the invitation song tonight?
Ashley, can you put it?
Key of G, Brother Bob. Y'all be working it down the aisle tonight, all right? Listen, Peter says to the Lord, Lord, how about John? What's he going to do? The Lord says, so what? It really doesn't matter what he does, what I choose to have him do.
Right.
And don't you love this? Jesus, I think Jesus is kind of borderline sarcastic, Brother Chad. I could be wrong. But he's kind of like, if I want him to stay here for the rest of the time, so what? That doesn't affect you.
That's it.
You follow me.
Yes.
Now, he wasn't going to get him to live here forever. And then, verse 23. Bible's so real, man. Verse 23. Then went this saying abroad among the brethren, that disciple should not die. But they missed it.
And be Baptist.
Not only did Peter miss it, they all missed it. It's a rumor going through the disciples. John's going to live forever? Why can't I live forever? Again, if I'm the Lord right now, I'm like, guys.
He loves me more.
Listen, and I need to take this lesson to heart myself, but if you ever get frustrated with your ministry, think about what the Lord dealt with.
Amen.
Seriously.
Amen.
Seriously. We expect everybody to get it and start serving God and be a missionary in 2 years. It don't work like that.
Nope.
Listen, how many times, and we're flawed, we mess up, right? We don't have complete knowledge.
No, we don't.
So we're giving people bits and pieces of things, and they're learning bits and pieces. Jesus taught it perfectly,
That's right.
Perfect.
and they still didn't get it.
That's right.
That's right.
They're still over here, John's going to live forever? What? Yeah, Jesus said, not unto him, he shall not die, but if I will, that he tarry till I come. What is that to thee? He just repeats it saying, no. He's not saying that he won't die. He's just saying, if that's what I choose to do with him, so what? That shouldn't affect you. Your job is unchanged. Your job is to follow Christ. He's saying, what's my friend doing? Jesus says, your focus is distracted, and following me is your duty. Listen, you know what your job is? Follow Christ.
Yes.
Well, man, we've been working on the bus routes for years together, and now God's going to call them here, or their family's going to have to move there. Man, that's tough, and it is tough. But you know your job? Follow Christ.
Amen.
Yes.
Keep doing what you need to do.
Amen.
Well, it's tough. They were a big blessing. I get it.
Right.
I get it. But
Yes.
you know what? Your job is unchanged. You keep doing what God has called you to do.
Yes.
He says, Peter, get your mind focused here. If I want John to do this or that or the other thing, it really doesn't affect you. Your job, follow me.
Amen.
Can we be real about it for a moment? We have enough trouble with ourselves. We don't need to worry about everybody else.
Exactly.
Yep.
I mean, we're barely on the route sometimes. We've got all this kind of stuff going on. Lord, what about this guy? Lord's like, you better watch yourself.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you all rubbing up on the curb and you all this stuff, and then you're like, man, look at all these crazy cars out here. You a crazy car too.
Amen.
You better get it in the center of the lane, all right? Before you hurt somebody. Like the guy going the wrong way, right? He's like called up his wife saying, man, there's all these cars going the wrong way. He was it, right? It wasn't everybody else, it was him. That's how we are sometimes. Man, all these problems around the church. How about yourself?
Yeah.
You look in the mirror, that's enough problem to deal with for a while, buddy. Me too. Me too. Let's focus on ourselves. I'm not saying we never care about anybody else. Obviously not.
Right.
God says, feed my sheep, right? We got to worry about ourselves, get ourselves in line. And again, I think he's reiterating to Peter, remember what happened to you before?
Right.
Now, Jesus is not beating you over the head with it. He's saying, hey, learn from back there.
Yes.
Learn from your mistakes. Learn from your failures.
Right.
Hey, folks, some of us, we've had some rough times and we've bumped into some things and we've gotten bruised up. Listen, let's learn from that.
Right.
Say, Lord, I was trying to serve you my own way. Can't do it like that.
No.
God, I want my Christian life to be built on loving you, on serving you, on following what you say. Not just going along with everybody else, but following what you say. And Lord, I need my focus of my loyalty to be with you. Let's bow our heads and close our eyes. Let's bow our eyes closed. Lord, I thank you tonight. Lord, I thank you.